Chapter 2. The Boring Trip from Recepshi to Renza. After being kidnapped by Hakurin, Seina was on the Recepshi, which was traveling through hyperspace towards Renza. Although the Kamedake and Kariko and the rest of the girls were also aboard, he was unable to contact them and didn't know where they were. Seina was worried about Fuku most of all. She had recently been through a lot of hard situations. But he was glad that she now had Aka. Lately the two had begun to remind him a lot of Ryo-Oki and Sasami. I wonder what's going on. Hakurin and her girls were so desperate to get me here, but now they've ran off and left me alone. A call monitor came up with a chime. He answered it. Maya, the dance princess of Recepshi, was on the screen. Seina-sama, I have an incoming call for you from Eri. Would you like to take it? Yes. Immediately Eri was displayed on the monitor. Howdy. You seem to be doing well, Seina. Eri smiled, making light of the situation. Eri, what took you so long? Why didn't you call me sooner? Sorry, I had a lot of debriefing and paperwork I had to do on the incident. But it's not like I would have been able to do anything. Thanks to Hakurin, you're on a train through frontier space on the Recepshi. There's nothing I can do for you. Well, that's true. But still, Seina really just wanted to complain for a bit. Getting them to let the Kamedake and the girls on board was trouble enough as it is. The girls were all VIPs, and the Kamedake was a top-secret ship. She didn't want them thinking this was some kind of planned Interfederation invasion of Renza. Of course, if Eri had done nothing they would have been fine aboard the ship, but they would never be able to leave it when Seina got off. Even if I'm able to negotiate their passage into Renza, it's not going to be easy. It will take time since we have no diplomatic relations with them at all. Please don't do anything to jeopardize that. For now, the girls and the Kamedake will have to keep a low profile too while on Recepshi. What will become of me? That's up to Hakurin. She probably wants to use you to rid Renza of pirates. If I were you, I'd go out and have a drink while you still can. Let me guess. Now's the part where you come in and tell me you're on board and want me to have drinks with you? Ho ho ho, this is a bit too serious of a situation for that now, don't you think? Mikami said, pushing Eri out of the way since she had recently become the GP chief commander. Seina was actually far more excited to see her than Eri. I know this has been very confusing for you, but you'll be glad to know that you are now officially assigned on a special mission. A special mission? I know it's inconvenient, but we have to handle your kidnapping carefully. We don't want to start any trouble with Renza. Oh, I see. So, we've fudged the truth a bit about the kidnapping. You'll be under my direct supervision from now on. You'll be getting a letter briefing you on everything soon, but for now just know this is officially being treated as a dispatch mission on behalf of the GP, Eri Masaki of the Academy, Washu Hakubi, and the head of the Jurian Masaki family, Funaho. So, this is a business trip now is what you're saying? Yes, and as such you will be paid through Recepshi. You can convert your money once you get there, but be aware the fees are not cheap, so you may want to keep some unconverted just in case. I understand, but, what about Kariko and the Kamedake? I can explain that. Sito came on screen. She seemed tired. Seina figured she must be the original one. He had been trying to find a way to differentiate her and the mirror. The girls are all invited guests too, but the Kamedake, well, it is going to have to remain a secret. I don't want to startle them and cause a war. As long as you're with Hakurin, though, you should be fine. Oh ho ho, are you sure those girls didn't just kidnap him to get away from their overbearing boss? Chi. Ringo has set aside 2 years of paid vacation for them because those girls never take a damn break. It's not my fault. Hopefully she can learn to stretch to stay for twice that since their pay has been cut in half for this ordeal. Nothing I can do about that. I'm afraid it's just procedure. In other words, Hakurin and her girls had been conveniently given a 2-year grace period to get this over with and come back. Humph. Anyways, that's all I have to say. Ask that trader behind you what's going on if you want more details. Sito cut the transmission, leaving Eri and Mikami on the line. They waved goodbye and ended the call. That traitor behind me? How awful. I'm not a traitor. Seina heard from behind him. He turned around. I just came along for the ride. Ku. Kisu Panta. Why are you here? Kisa came up behind him and locked her arms around him. How did you get in my bedroom? Come, let's sit and talk. Sana tried to go sit on the one-person sofa in the room, but she took him and sat him down in a chaise lounge. Here, it was still better than her taking him to the bed, he figured. Kisu took a cup of tea from a serving drone that passed by. Doesn't this remind you of when you first came into space? A bit, in the sense that I've been suddenly thrust into a setting I never thought possible. Then you should sit back and enjoy this. There are only a few people who ever get to see both the Galactic Federation and Renza. Even if they come here by reception, they just get to look outside from here. It's the same seeing it in pictures, but you'll actually get to go there. It seems like the concept of borders for me is constantly changing, isn't it? Yes, it certainly does. At any rate, please don't be too mad with those girls. They were only doing what they thought was right. Think of it as a tough lesson. That's one way to look at it. Did Sito tell you to say that? Honestly, I'm just confused, but that's normal for me. No, this time it's for me. But you can think of this as an exam from us. Sana, you are rare and valuable and important for this world, and you have become much more influential than we anticipated, and of course you've become important to me as an individual too. Hisa pulled herself onto Sana's arm. She gave off the air of a mature older seductress. Compared to her allure, Kariko and Jaikirin were still just girls. But Sana, you're still immature. You lack experience in protecting yourself from those who desire to harness your value for themselves. Your power far outreaches your age, and since you bear so much military force, individuals are desperate to use you, and while there are those who would rather see you sheltered from having to develop those skills, I think it's best you do it quickly. Is that why Kariko wanted me to stay on the Earth? Well, maybe. I wish I could have created a situation that would have allowed us to slowly wait for your growth, but your presence has accelerated the flow of the world to such an extent that we could have never imagined. In that sense, I'm the one who has bad luck. Haha, well, that's just usual for me. If you had stayed in the Galactic Federation, Jurai would have been able to get the Academy to do your follow-up exam early, but it's impossible now since you are in Renza. Follow-up. Exam? What is that? Show me what you can do here, Sana. Please show me what you can do in the absence of our asylum. If you can demonstrate it here, you will have achieved graduation with only your own knowledge and abilities. Please, do your best. My knowledge and abilities. Sana thought about it. By the way, I heard that Ms. Hakurin and the rest of them are being treated as being on paid vacation. We knew the purpose of Hakurin and her girls since the moment they arrived. The royal family didn't care about such a trivial thing, but now it's impossible to overlook Sito's position in this. They were her subordinates. Because of Hakurin's flashy way of kidnapping you, far too many people know about it to suppress it. The act of kidnapping you, one of the backbones of the Galactic Federation, is a betrayal no matter how you slice it. So, for the sake of revising history, she has been put down as being on a paid vacation. The Jurai Internal Affairs section is convinced that, and as for outsiders, it's the easiest way to convince them of that too. There were many people who saw it go down, but they were also drinking when it happened. Oh, so you just don't want to be seen as a traitor too. I didn't feel like sticking around, in case it didn't work out. It's interesting what goes on behind the scenes. But if one of you were to go, shouldn't it be you, not the original? Well, that is how it's supposed to go, but, well, it all worked out in the end, so. Regardless of who remained, the other would still be in danger, but he now understood Sito's angry expression. Anyway, it's not like she needs me to save her. But I'd be screwed. I'd rather be stuck with you. Sana. But thankfully, since I'm here, I can help you out. So, you'll be helping me while I stay here? Yes, unfortunately it will be a while before you can see Kariko-chan and the other girls again. In a way, this is their exam as well as yours. Oh, is that so? Yes, a bit of advice. Your situation in the future will be complicated. The boundaries between ally and enemies, including me, will be very ambiguous, so please doubt me while trusting me. As long as you are alive, be sure to protect yourself first. Make sure you do things not for someone else, but for yourself. Kisu slowly rose from Sana. Take care, Kisu. Sana smiled. Have fun. Kisu disappeared out of the room. So, what did they say? Wha? A monitor with Maya displayed suddenly launched as if she had been watching him. Her timing was no doubt intentional. I have an important story to tell you about the future. I am sorry, I have to tell you in person. Can you come here? All right, see you in a while. Sana got up quickly. That fucking hag. Amain muttered in a luxurious room. Of course, the rest of the girls were there in the same outfits they were in during the wedding. Fuku was eating snacks. Dee was busy checking out Recepti's curry menu. The girls were VIP guests in Recepti's fanciest hotel. Of course, it was isolated from Sana, and the distance between them was about half a planet. What is she thinking? That old hag must have been planning for this to happen from the start. Amain angrily drank some soothing herbal tea. After they made it onto Recepti, she went to chase after Hakuren and was restrained by pretty dancers as soon as she jumped out of the kamedake. They were thrown in here like prisoners. Unlike Sana, they had no means of transportation and were unable to go out of the Recepti into space. They'd finally gotten in touch with Sito, but were told less than Sana was, and so Amain was very angry. No doubt that they knew the identity of Hakuren's group. But they couldn't have had any idea that they would kidnap Sana during the wedding. What's the difference? They never should have been attached as Sana's escorts. Regardless, we're stuck on the Recepti now, although Sana Oni-chan and ZINV are a different story. Neju said. Sana was the master of ZINV, one of the two ancestors of the humanoid weapons of the Renza Federation, so it was fine for him to fly it in the Renza Federation. They went together like duck and green onions. But Sana was the onion and ZINV was the duck. It seems that Renza informally requested that ZINV to be handed over to them before. Wait. So, you're saying that if he had gone after them on ZINV we wouldn't be stuck here? Miki was also angrily drinking herbal tea. Of course, her body now had the same level of biological defense functions as Fuku. Tea did nothing pharmacologically speaking, but its fragrant scent and taste calmed her. Also, Miki felt, well, it's free so why not? Taking that thing out on a rampage chase after the Recepti itself would have been a problem. Kariko quietly said. She was on her 5th herbal tea. You say that so calmly, but you're sure slamming back tea. Miki, you're a graduate of the GP Academy, you know I'm right. Don't you trust Hakuren, Amain? Why are you angry? I'm mad at that old hag, not her. Either way, it's going to be a pain in the ass for us to find Sana here, and the kamedake is useless to us. Oh well. I guess we should be patient and just enjoy this place. It's an entertainment planet. Let's have fun. Ha ha. I would, but I'm afraid of getting used to luxury. Miki said, because she was funded by her father. I agree. It's a horrible trap to fall into. Kariko also didn't want to because she was afraid of Sana's bias making something bad happen with the money. I'd rather enjoy sightseeing Recepti on my honeymoon. Chi. They better not lay a finger on him. Those hussies. Amain clenched her fist in anger. Don't you trust them? Not in that area. Even though Sana's body was safe, his chastity was not guaranteed. If they do that, I'll kill them. Kariko said with radiant murderous intent. Aka and Fuku were eating sweets, and Dee was crazy about curry, so they didn't seem to notice. However, the others were terrified by this. Knock knock. The door opened and Mikihi bowed and came in. Is there anything I can help you with? Oh, did I come at a bad time? You're going to have to keep your temper in check here, miss. Hide everything under the mask of a smile. That is our motto here on the Recepti. Ahahaha. Oh no. Kariko here is just acting out a play. Pay her no mind. It's not an act. Oh, is she a stage performer? What's the role? Mikihi knew it wasn't but wouldn't have hesitated to make Kariko a spectacle for the guests. It's not an act. Damn, are you sure about that? We have everything we need, ma'am. You can leave. Neju interjected to try to end the derailed conversation. If you like, we have a stage you can practice on. I want to beat the guy who is writing the script. It seems to me like there is no script. It's a scenario-free drama and dare I say, isn't Yamada-sama's probability bias the director? Mikihi said. Kariko breathed a big sigh. Can you at least explain the situation to us? Of course I can, Mikihi said. They moved their conversation to the veranda. Okay, first off, who are Hakuren and the other three? That was the question that Kariko had always wanted to ask. Of course, she had some guesses, but there were still some things that she didn't understand. As you've probably guessed, Kariko, They aren't just secret agents from Renza. So, there are people in high positions over there? Yes. The Renza Federation is largely divided into 5 groups: Hakuran-sama's country, Karen-sama's country, Sueren-sama's country, Jaya-Kiran-sama's country, and the Kao family's commonwealth. Each country has a royal family. They are all in a political stalemate with each other, or have an alliance. There are only 5 countries? Wait, so are they? Hakuran-sama is the first princess of the Kahako Kingdom. Her real name is Lady Shirahana Ren Kahaku. Oh, she's royalty. And in the direct line of succession. Kariko was surprised. She had guessed that they came from a noble family from their gossip, but she hadn't imagined they would be so high up in the ranks. Karen-sama is the 3rd daughter of the first prince of the Kaisen Kingdom, Lady Shirin Rengoku Kaisen. Sueren-sama is the 5th princess of the king of the Suer Kingdom. Lady Minamo Renso Suer, the one you know as Jaya-Kiran, is the only one who is a queen, or at least she should have been crowned one. No way. Jaya-Kiran is a queen. To be precise, she is the king's 13th princess. The first child doesn't inherit the throne? That country has a somewhat special inheritance system, Makihi said. Kariko felt there was an amusing story behind that she wasn't telling her. Special, so why hasn't she been crowned? Amain asked. Kariko and others nodded. Amain wondered if it was due to the thing that had caused Jaya-Kiran's urge to attack Sena that she had demonstrated before. At this stage, although she hasn't been crowned yet, it's been decided that she has inherited the throne, although in principle her status was abandoned when she left for the Galactic Federation. Why? I don't know. Her real name is Shinji Arensa Magioku. If crowned, she will inherit the last name of Masue. I expected something like that, but never that one of them would be a queen. Why doesn't she act like one? Shit. I'm not going to touch that subject with a 10-foot pole. Even so, it's a brave story that 3 princesses and a future queen left to infiltrate the Galactic Federation by themselves. I wonder if someone put them up to it. It was definitely Hakuran's own doing. But wouldn't that put their positions in jeopardy? There's no doubt that it was a violation of their orders. They left without permission. Yeah, and you helped them do it. Shit, we just took them aboard as guests for an extended stay. We didn't know what they were doing during it. We're recepshi, a social place for ladies and gentlemen to have fun. In other words, Space Vegas, and they didn't give a shit what people did as long as they weren't causing problems. Well, are you willing to do anything about this? You're responsible after all. Of course, we will, but not at our own risk. If we let you travel out of here, it would cause a massive uproar. A large screen was launched showing a tremendous number of spacecraft running around Recepci. Currently, Recepci has 5 port sections, filled with many leading aristocrats, large companies, and other ships. You can't help but stick out. The Kamadake has a special shape. As soon as they went out, people would panic just from the energy to mass ratio it emitted. Are we being detained? Or arrested? No. We're neutral. Recepci is an extraterritorial ship. As I mentioned earlier, we can't have any trouble here. In other words, do you mean to say you're not willing to stop the princesses from making a triumphant return? Some forces are beyond our control. How annoying. Then why did you let Hakuran get to the Federation in the first place? You can't help us, but you coming to the Galactic Federation on a smuggling mission is okay? Now, thanks to you, we're being deprived of Sena because of his anti-pirate abilities. But they went there before he even went into space. What would they have done in Jurai if he hadn't shown up? Just what you'd expect. A royal tree? I don't know if that's bold or reckless. They'd have to spend centuries just trying to get into the royal family to get one. So, you knew that was impossible and had no reason to not let Hakuran come aboard, but you didn't think it was odd they had no escorts or anyone else with them? Renza has military organizations centered in each of the 5 nations, although they're working together. They don't have a wide-reaching organization that can cover the whole area like the GP. I can see how that could be a problem for fighting pirates. Yes, it's a problem. But there was no immediate urgency to fix it. Why? Like Amain said. Hakuran-sama had a long-term plan. Royal trees are not an easy thing to get, and that was their original objective. Geez, hiding your identity and pretending to be a normal citizen and trying to become royalty. It wasn't impossible, but it was certainly a plan with a probability of working that was close to zero. Well, there are people like Noik and Mishisu, so it makes sense they went to work under Sito. Even then, they'd have to successfully build up their list of achievements and live in Jurai, and that would take hundreds of years. Oh, that's it? Kariko glared at Mikihi, and Mikihi smiled to respond. In other words, it didn't matter if they let them in or not as long as Sito knew. Their plan had failed the moment Hakuren came to Recepshi, and once they went to Sito it was done. But Hakuren herself probably didn't know that. That fucking old hag had them dancing in the palm of her hand. Amain said angrily. Sito was going to get around to helping, but not for a while. Seina's finding Zinv must have caused Hakuren to accelerate her plans. It was a first-generation tree after all. Unfortunately, it seems like the situation over there has gotten worse much quicker than they expected. So their actions weren't in vain. It seems a lot of pirates have fled the Galaxy Federation for Renza, and there has been an increasing amount of giant pirate-owned Heavenly-class humanoid weapons. Heavenly class? It's the name of a class of the humanoid weapon. The class name changes with body height and energy output. The ranks are roughly Weak Knights, Earthly Knights, Aqueous Knights, then Heavenly Knights. Normally there were 4 classes. Seina's Zinv, although it was a heavenly class in terms of size, it would be called a godly knight because of its total strength. I heard rumors that in Renza, large-scale humanoid weapons such as Zinv were normal, but since we had no diplomatic relations with Renza, we didn't know the details of it. Even as a pirate, I didn't get much information on it from our side. The pirates on the Galactic Federation side were never interested in humanoid weapons in the first place. Ryoko Balta said. They're inefficient and unpractical. Why are they the norm there? Kariko, you've seen how they'd operate, don't you understand? Amain asked, referring to the mech TV shows that they'd watched when they went to Seina's home. Even on Earth we think they're cool looking, but don't try to make them because they're impractical. Humanoid weapons, especially gigantic weapons, are treated as symbolic beings. Humanoid infantry soldiers are called armored cavalry. Symbolic existence. So I was right, the humanoid weapon's popularity is unnatural, but if it's a symbolic thing, it makes sense. For example, costumes and the like are more important in appearance than in terms of functions. Costumes for ceremonial occasions are a good example. Many of those can't be said to be very practical. Is it a religious thing? Well, the humanoid weapons in Renza are believed to have originated from the prehistoric civilization itself. Thanks to the info we now know from Zinv-sama and D-san's discovery, it has become absolute faith recently. 30,000 years ago, they were found in the ruins of an ancient prehistoric civilization in a wide-open area where many humanoid weapons were discovered. Along with it, they found gigantic weapons known as the original 5 Holy Knights and 5 Royal Tree Seeds. Royal Tree Seeds? Now, it's not surprising that Zinv exists, but do the 5 countries have anything to do with that? Yes, those who became the masters of the 5 third-generation trees and those who piloted the original 5 Holy Knights became the founders of each royal family. They are known as the 5 heroes who built the foundation of Renza. The name Kamiki or Godly Knight is only used to refer to the original 5 Holy Knights, and now the third-generation tree seeds are located in the capital with each royal family's nation where they serve to give birth to the next generation of trees. So the 3rd generation is the highest level they have. Well, you can still use it as a weapon, but it's not the best idea to do that. Jurai's royal ship served only as a deterrent to fighting, and only once before by unknown means had the Shank Guild been able to bypass their defenses and defeat one. They hadn't done well with aggressive fighting in the past, like when the Mikagami first engaged in combat. But why then did Hakuren go to the Galactic Federation? If there are royal trees here, there's no reason, right? Wait, did you say that there were pirates with humanoids of the heavenly class? In other words, royal trees are siding with the pirates? More than that, there must be something creating the royal trees that are siding with the pirates. The distribution of super weapons was frightening. They were like nuclear weapons and were likely to destroy the environment around them as they tried to destroy themselves. That's bad. It's worse than what Tarrant was up to. But if they age-fix the royal trees in the humanoids, how are they reproducing so many of them? The germination rate of the trees depends on the generation, and it increases as the generations increase. The highest level currently in operation is the 4th generation. There are not many used. The 4th generation trees are almost always used as parent trees that produce the next generation from what I understand. So the main threat is 5th generation trees? Well, even a 5th generation has enough power to run a small-scale planetoid battleship in an always battle-ready state. Kiriko, how many generations can be used for battle? If they are ZNV-class constructs, perhaps, to the 8th. I think it should be effective until the 9th generation. After that there will probably be technical level issues. They could still be used like normal power reactors, I guess. Nevertheless, the Heavenly Knights, which are the highest powered ones, have less than 300 units registered in the whole Federation. It's frightening that the pirates are getting their hands on that level of humanoids. That's not a small number. I wonder how they're getting them. Maybe someone on the inside is giving them away. Is it possible that the pirates found another royal tree? If that was the case, it would make sense that Hakuren would want to take Sena after he became the master of ZINV. With a 1st generation tree and the Kamidik, large numbers of 5th generations wouldn't stand a chance. Regardless, if royal trees are involved, we should gather as much information as possible on this. Well, since the discovery of the first 5, they've been searching for the ancestors of those trees. There have been many generations of families who searched, and their exploration records were always popular reading, but now thanks to D, we have a rather detailed record of everything up to the beginning of the prehistoric civilization, and in particular the details of the ancestors of the Seiki of Renza, so the search has heated up, but from the records. There was another founder, HRA, right? It was called the Next Generation Mother, and it was used to give birth to more 2nd generations, wasn't it? Kiriko looked at D, who was taking a break after eating curry. Yes, but that was in the process of building the civilization that came before the founding of the prehistoric civilization. I don't know what happened to it, and ZINV and I had already fallen asleep in the early days of that, so I don't know what happened after that. It seems that all of the original 5 found in Renza seem to have been time-frozen and sealed in the seed state, so HRA, as well as the other 2nd generation trees, haven't been found. It seems that there were no records of them existing in the ruins. When the first 5 were found, they were also severely aged, they were ill-equipped for battle, their data logs were very lacking because the material the data was stored on had deteriorated, and since they were made for combat in the first place, there was no history-related data on them. Well, up until a certain era we didn't use large humanoid weapons. The first one we made was ZNV. We only made it into a humanoid weapon because we crashed on an early civilization planet. We used it to help avoid conflict with the natives, which is to say, we made it into an idol for intimidation purposes, so they would see it as a god. Oh! Everyone concentrated on D. You made contact with an early civilization? In our time there was no law prohibiting it. All living things have hostilities and fears about strangers. Moreover, those who occupied the land probably wouldn't have accepted us. In order to do that we used an easy-to-recognize symbol to force them to. By manipulating their sense of awe, we were able to avoid unnecessary fighting. It was very effective. Oh, so that explains the human shape. In early civilizations, huge statues and natural formations are likely to be viewed as subjects of faith. We figured it would give us the upper hand. In other words, the settlers chose coexistence, not wiping out the indigenous people. Yes, our numbers were small, and we had evolved enough to coexist with other parties. After that, Dee did not mention that the same settlers on that planet fought with each other, and ended up dividing into 2 groups who fought each other to the death. Oh wow! Who would have guessed that the origins of the large humanoid weapons started in such an unexpected way? But, Dee, are you sure there wasn't anyone else with royal trees? Because there were 5 original Holy Knight remnants, isn't that odd? Kiriko, how long do the trees live in the first place? They can reproduce themselves, if there's no damage then, about an eternity, but what happened once you got to that place, D? In Zien versus records, there were many facts that could not be immediately announced, which also includes things related to the royal trees. In the first place, we tried to immigrate to a planet in the early stages of civilization because there was a fight brought about by a big power struggle. I don't know how that struggle was resolved. At the very least, that civilization we left collapsed. Then, when we finally went back into space again, we didn't find any royal trees. Perhaps those like AHRA died in that war. They probably got involved in it. Kariko, if the trees are killed in battle, do they regenerate? It never really happens, but I doubt they would be able to if their opponent was another tree. That's horrible though. It's like making siblings kill each other. Kariko was terribly disgusted when thinking about her ship, Mitsuki, doing that. To begin with, the trees hated fighting. It was abominable to her that someone would make them fight each other. She wondered why Tsunami would create two lines of trees if she knew they could end up fighting like that. As you said earlier, when you first went back into space, there weren't any other trees, and no sign of HRA, but those third-generation seeds remained. Did you discover them? Yes. Oh, thank you. Kariko laughed a bit as Dee got distracted by a drone coming in to give her more curry. Anyway, Sana is also worried about how to handle things with CINV. I wonder what Hakuren is planning. If Hakuren's girls can take leading positions in the Renza Federation's governmental meetings, everything should be okay. But who knows what will happen at this stage? I'd say for now he's probably safe, wouldn't you? With the Kamidig and the second-generation tree fused with it, they had the ability to crash through the country's defenses and rescue Sana and CINV if they had to. Even if it was as a last resort, after all it would start a war. I think I have an idea about what Hakuren is thinking. Mikihi displayed a plane on a huge monitor. What's this? The solar system located near the center of the Renza Federation space. There is a planet there called Terra. Terra. It is said that it was the center of the central government of the prehistoric civilization, although there was a theory that it was the origin of the prehistoric civilization. Although the birthplace theory was denied by the discovery of ZNV. But it is the planet where the original 5 that I mentioned earlier was discovered. I can see how they could think that with those seeds being sealed there. Yes, the kings who became the masters of the original 5 became the grandfathers of the 5 royal families and established it as a holy land for use as the Renza Federation's main conference space. As the eras passed, the scale of its use was expanded, and it became a place with educational and research facilities and facilities for the training of security for the multinational forces, their version of the Galaxy Academy. There were 5 large artificial planets around the planet Terra, from which huge facilities grew, making it look like a pentagonal snowflake. Although it wasn't able to eliminate the influence that each country had on it like the Galaxy Academy has. So, you think CINV will be taken there where the governmental talks are done? Yes. Are you planning to return Sana to the Galactic Federation when they're done? They should reach a conclusion by the end of the day. She didn't answer Kariko's question. Mikihi was staring at the picture of Terra, and it gave her the jitters.